Welcome back, captains. After a long break, things have finally settled down enough for us to get back on the water. So today, we're heading out for a 2-day fishing trip using the longline method. We've got everything ready for 2 full days of fishing. Around 6 20-kilo boxes of bait, several bags of crushed ice, and about 800 longline hooks. On our last 2 trips, we tried to stay close to shore and fish in the nearest spots we could reach. But this time, we're taking it a little further. We're going to go around the island and head out into deeper water, where we have a better chance of finding some bigger grouper. Each longline set has around 120 to 130 hooks. Along the way, we baited and prepared several sets, so once we reach our fishing spot, in about 30 to 45 meters of water, we can start setting the long lines one by one. We had already set 2 longline sets, and while we were getting the next hooks baited and ready, darkness started to settle in. Once it got dark, we continued setting the 3rd longline. This time of year, the heat during the day can be intense, so we have to make the most of the night, working non-stop from sunset until morning, and doing everything we can to catch enough fish before the sun gets too strong. One of our longline sets has about 25 hooks. We're setting this one in a deeper spot, around 95 meters deep, using catfish as bait. Since smaller fish usually don't go after this bait because it's too big and tough, the bait can stay on the hooks for a much longer time. And since grouper absolutely love catfish, that gives us a better chance of hooking a good grouper. So we can leave these hooks in the water for a longer period of time and let the bait do its job. As soon as we finished setting the last line, we started hauling them back in. While we're pulling the lines in, we refresh the bait and get the hooks ready for the next round. The first round gave us a decent catch, but nothing too big. Now, we're waiting for sunrise, hoping the morning bite brings us some big grouper. Early in the morning, we started hauling in the second and final round of hooks. The first long line came up empty, and that's not a good sign. Let's see what the next ones have got. We still haven't seen any really big fish, but this line looks like it landed in a good spot. We've got a decent number of grouper and a barracuda. But when you're a fisherman, you always have to think about the cost of the trip. With this much bait, fuel, and all the hard work that goes into a trip like this, we need a much better catch to make the trip worth it. There are still a few long lines that have been sitting in the water since last night, so there's still plenty of reason to stay hopeful. The sea is completely calm, but the sun is starting to get stronger, and temperatures are expected to reach around 50 degrees Celsius. That's going to make the work even harder. So, let's move on to the next longline. We got a small guitar fish on this one. These animals can grow surprisingly large and are incredibly powerful. That's one of the reasons we have to keep a really firm grip on the line when we're hauling it in. If a big one suddenly grabs the bait and makes a powerful run, it can pull the line right out of your hands. So you always have to stay alert and be ready for anything when you're bringing these lines back in. Now that's a good-sized grouper. A fish like this makes all the hard work worth it. Looks like this longline wasn't in the right spot either. With longline fishing, one of the most important things is getting your hooks into the right areas on the sea floor, places where a few rocks and reef patches sit on an otherwise muddy bottom, because that's where grouper tend to hang around. We don't use a fish finder or any fancy equipment. Instead, we check the general shape of the seafloor on our GPS and start testing different spots around the area with the longline. Whenever we find a spot that produces a few good fish, we mark it on the map. That way, on future trips, we can set our hooks right back in those productive spots. This set actually gave us a pretty decent catch. These fish tell us that the hooks were sitting in a good spot. But when it comes to landing a big grouper, there's a lot more to it than just finding the right spot. The current, the timing, the bait, and even the conditions that day can all make a difference. This next long line looks like it got hit hard by something big. And take a look at this cobia we caught on the same line. Judging by the way the line was snapped and completely tangled up, there's a good chance this guy was the one behind it. Cobia are incredibly strong, and if this one used the rocks to its advantage, it could have easily snapped the line and turned the whole setup into a mess like this. All the long lines are finally back on board. Now we're heading to the nearest dock, about 20 miles away, to unload the fish, get some rest in the air-conditioned cabin downstairs, and then head back out for another round of fishing. And we're only halfway through the trip, so stick around. We've still got another full day of fishing ahead, and there are some pretty interesting moments coming up. If you're enjoying the trip so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. After a good rest, we started the second night and headed back toward the fishing grounds. When we're fishing far offshore, we're usually in contact with one of our fellow fishermen. It's really important to keep an eye on each other out here, especially when we're far from land and cell service is weak. He's fishing with a different method, but his boat is working in the same area as us. So even though we're doing things differently, it's good to know there's another boat nearby. All the long lines are baited and back in the water, and we've started the night shift. Now it's time to start hauling in the first lines. We got a later start tonight though, so there isn't much time left before morning. We'll have to keep moving and make every minute count. The first two long lines gave us a decent but pretty average catch. Let's see what the morning brings. Here's something interesting that some of you may have already noticed. When you haul a long line up from deep water, the change in pressure can make the fish's belly swell, causing it to float toward the surface. The bigger fish, with their larger bellies, can actually pull the long line up toward the surface with them. So, when you see the long line coming up and floating on the surface like this, that's usually a pretty good sign. It means something big could be coming up on the line. Look at this big grouper! This was actually our second catch on the same hook. What makes it even more interesting is that we didn't even bait these hooks with catfish. Somehow, a catfish must have taken the hook, and then this big grouper came in and attacked it. And while it was trying to grab that catfish, the grouper ended up getting hooked itself. Today is our final day, so we're going to have to put up with the heat for a little longer and give this longline spot one more try. Let's see if it can surprise us this time. Look at this little grouper. A much bigger fish swallowed it whole while it was on the hook, but somehow it spit it back out. It's just like what happened with the catfish earlier, except this time the big fish got away without getting hooked. Grouper can stay alive on the hook for days, but some don't survive. They can fight so violently that sometimes they even break their necks. Look at the size of these groupers. This was definitely worth it. With fish like this, it doesn't take long to fill up our boxes. And look at this one. It's even bigger than the rest. The long line is coming up and the fish are starting to appear one after another from below the surface. This is what makes longline fishing so exciting. There's almost always one set that hits the right spot and catches enough fish to make up for the slower sets. We still have one more long line in the water, and I'm pretty happy with the catch so far. What do you guys think? For the last set, we went way deeper, between 90 and 98 meters, just to see what we could pull out of this spot. Pulling a long line from this depth is a whole different game. Let's see what's waiting for us down there. When you're fishing in deeper water, hauling the hooks in by hand can get pretty heavy. As you can see, we use a gas-powered line hauler to to bring both ends of the long line up. We also attach a floating barrel to each end of the line. This brings the whole long line up to the surface, so instead of pulling the hooks up from deep water, we can simply pick them up by hand from the surface. The last long line gave us 2 more good-sized grouper. With that, we packed up the gear, got the boat ready, and started heading back to weigh the catch. But on the way, I want to show you something interesting that I see almost every day. As we make our way back, we pass through 3 very different types of water: deep, clear water, slightly murky water, and then shallow water that's completely muddy. Each of these areas attracts different kinds of fish. It's pretty amazing to see how many different species come to different parts of this area to feed, live, and even spawn.
And that's a wrap on day 2.
These 2 were the biggest fish of the trip. Can you guess how much they weigh together? Take a look at the rest of the fish on the scale and let me know in the comments, how much do you think we caught on the first day? I'd love to hear what you guys thought about these 2 days of grouper fishing with long lines. Grouper is one of the more valuable fish around here, and honestly, catching them is always a lot of fun. If you're into real fishing trips, king mackerel fishing, and seeing what life is really like as a fisherman, make sure you stick around and follow the channel. There's a lot more coming. Until the next fishing trip, captains, stay safe and keep those lines tight.